Hello and welcome to the Milan Talk podcast. I'm your host Samik Paul, and unfortunately we're looking back at a frustrating 2-2 draw with SPAL on Wednesday night. We'll look at a few key tactical points from the game, I'll get into the player ratings, and I'll share some of your post-match thoughts from Twitter. But first, let's just start off with the game itself and a couple of key points that I wanted to address. Ultimately, I think we did well to salvage a draw. We were pushing hard right until the end, and to get a point was better than coming away with nothing. But that said, we should have absolutely hammered them. 29 attempts on goal. There's also 10 more block shots that I didn't count in that. 17 corners, over 65% of possession, and we played against 10 men for 51 minutes in the second half. Simply put, it wasn't good enough. We should have put the game to bed. We had enough opportunities, enough chances to do so. There were 3 points there begging to be taken home with us. And we just didn't get the job done. We've squandered it. We've dropped 2 points, and that could ultimately come back to haunt us at the end of the season, as we're pushing to try and get European qualification. On a plus point, I would say that I thought Paqueta did well, and I'm going to look at him in more detail shortly. But again, like the whole team, he has to be more clinical because he did have a number of opportunities from distance, and he never found the back of the net with any of them. So that's something to work on. But we'll go to Paqueta in a second. The corners thing is dreadful. I cannot remember the last time we scored from one. I think someone said on Twitter it was one from Piontek last season. Just dreadful. We don't look a threat. We had 17 corners. Didn't look like scoring from any of them. We'll touch on more of these in detail in the player ratings, but disappointed with Theo Hernandez. Matteo Gabbia had a bit of a dodgy game. Salim Ackers looked a bit better at right back, I thought. As I mentioned, Paqueta looked good. I'm not 100% convinced by Leao still, but it was good to see him make an impact again. So let's just dive into some of these tactical bits. But first of all, I want to start with SPAL's first goal. This first image essentially shows how it's actually unbelievable how we didn't clear our lines. You've got 3 men around the ball, Paqueta, Kessie and Gabbia. The SPAL players are actually too busy appealing for a penalty. So we've even got more of an opportunity to get rid and clear the danger. None of them get the job done. Paqueta has a stab at it, makes a mess of it. Gabbia looks almost as though he was scared of the ball and was trying to get out of the way rather than put his body on the line to get it out. And eventually the ball finds its way over to Velotti, who gets a deflection and it goes in off Çalhanoğlu, I think it was. Very scrappy, really, really poor goal to concede. And then with Castillejo going off injured just minutes after that, it was just a dreadful few minutes for us, and it kind of set the tone for the first 40 minutes until SPAL went down to 10 men. So really, really disappointed with the way we conceded first. But as I mentioned, I want to focus on Lucas Paqueta in this podcast in particular because I feel as though he did have a very good game. As I said, his finish wasn't quite there. He still needs to be a bit more clinical in the box. He had a couple of headers from corners. He had a couple of long distance shots. He needs to start finding the back of the net with some of these opportunities because I think it's only 1 goal and 3 assists in 40 games for us so far. And, you know, he's young, he's still learning, he's still adjusting, but that is not good enough. But what I want to say is that I think he has been starting to show some really positive signs in the last 2 games. Came off the bench against Roma, did really well. Was involved heavily in the first goal that we scored. And again, on Wednesday night, I think he's starting to find these specific pockets of space in between the lines, between the midfield and the defence, and it's either leading to opportunities for others or it's opening up for him to take a shot on from the edge of the box. In this situation, he laid it off to Çalhanoğlu, who forced a good save out the goalkeeper, but I like the way that Paqueta is finding those pockets of space. He's making the most of it, he's looking a threat, and he's causing nuisance. And like I said, the only thing that's missing at this point now is the finish, is the clinical edge to his play. And hopefully that will come. But what I've seen from him in the last 2 games, I am impressed, and I think he is making a case now to get a starting berth under Pioli. I think this is probably, it's a very short sample, I admit, but it's almost the best short run of form that we've seen from him since his initial impact and breakthrough under Gattuso when he joined us in January last year. So I hope he can build on this. He's growing in confidence. You saw that with a bit of skill that he tried and actually succeeded with it. I think things are starting to click for him a little bit, and I'd like to see him actually stay in the team now to build on that rather than being chucked back on the bench and having to start from scratch again. The second image is exactly the same thing. He had a shot this time, forced a good save out the goalkeeper, But again, it's that pocket of space on the edge of the box where he's finding very regularly in the last 2 games, and he is causing problems and he's very direct. I do like that about it, but again, it has to be a finish at the end of it. It's no use, the fancy tricks and the shots on target and forcing goalkeepers to make good saves. He will be judged on his goals and assists, and in these situations, he's finding himself in dangerous positions on the pitch. He needs to make the most of it. So yeah, really impressed with the way that Paqueta is finding space in between the lines and is causing problems for the defence of the other side. So something to build on, and hopefully we get to see that against Lazio at the weekend, because I do feel as though he deserves to stay in the starting 11. Bonaventura looked very jaded against Roma. Didn't do much when he came on against SPAL. So I think Paqueta, for me, gets the nod as the playmaker behind the front man. But we'll see what Pioli goes with. And then the final tactical point I wanted to bring up was Salim Ackers at right back. Now, Pioli said in midweek himself that he feels as though the Belgian is a little bit too frenetic in his play when he's on the ball. He needs to be a bit more lucid, needs to be a bit more calm. And you kind of see exactly that on the pitch. And that's one thing I give real credit to Pioli for, because I do feel as though he nails his player assessments really well. Salim Ackers was again very inconsistent, hit and miss when he was playing in a more advanced role on the right when he came on for Castillejo. Overhit crosses, just looked very rushed in possession. Doesn't really look as if he believes in himself. He's got the confidence to take his man on. He kind of, when things aren't working out, he kind of plays the easy pass because he doesn't want to feel that pressure coming onto him from his own teammates as well. And I feel as though that is a big thing that he's going to have to overcome. But in the meantime, I do feel as though there was something in the game against SPAL that I saw that makes an argument for him to be playing at right back instead. Now, he's got to work on his defensive game, of course, because as versatile as he is, he's a jack of all trades. That's something that he's going to have to work on, and being more defensively sound. But there's a lot of similarities, and maybe this is a lazy comparison, but I do feel there's a number of similarities and comparisons that can be made with Abate. I'm not just talking about in terms of the physical looks, because they do look quite similar, but in their play, they both start as attacking right-sided players. Abate obviously reverted back into a right-back role and was a mainstay in the team for many years. I feel as though Salim Ackers is potentially going to go down the same route. Now, being versatile and a jack of all trades is very handy, but I think it benefits all concerned when he can master one specific position. And I feel as though unless he makes a really important and big jump in quality in the final third, I think the right back position may well be something that he can look for. But on this occasion, first time cross, played it quickly. Yes, Ibrahimovic and Leao are not in the box, they're labouring towards it, and you could make an argument that he should have taken his time. But the fact that he did produce an instant cross into that corridor of doubt, that massive space in between the goalkeeper and defenders, created the problem, forced the own goal, gained us a point. So hats off to Salim Ackers for that, and I think potentially, just my opinion of course, he may stumble into a more preferred role as a right back, pushing Conte and Calabria. And of course we know about the speculation over the past week about Calabria and his future at the club. So one to look out for, but Salim Ackers at right back is potentially another thing. But yeah, hats off to Paqueta. I think although there is certainly more room for improvement, I think he was one of the more positive players on the pitch on Wednesday night. Okay, so moving on to the player ratings. I've given Donnarumma a 6 out of 10 to start with. Let down by his defence for the first goal and beaten by a brilliant strike by Joe Ficari for the second. Didn't have much else to do, so he may well be disappointed that he couldn't have more of an impact on the result, but 6 out of 10. Calabria gets a 5 out of 10. Didn't really feature much in the game in the first half. Can't remember many times where he got on the ball and did much apart from that pretty sensational effort he had on goal with that volley. But other than that, didn't do much and replaced at half-time, which made perfect tactical sense, by the way. Another decision spot on from Pioli, but ultimately with the result, we're going to limit our praise on that one. Matteo Gabbia gets a 5 out of 10. Big learning experience for him. I think it was a really poor performance overall. As I pointed out earlier, should have done better dealing with the danger in the first goal, and just really too easily beaten physically and in one-on-one situations thereafter, whether it was Patagna or Flucari. I don't think he performed very well, and he's going to have to show real character now to bounce back from that. with Kaya most likely coming back in against Lazio. So disappointing night for Gabbia, but plenty to learn from as well. Alessio Romagnoli gets a 5.5. Didn't do much wrong, but I think he potentially could have closed down Ferrari a bit quicker for his goal. He did seem to stand off and allow him to take the shot, but take nothing away from the shot. It was a brilliant goal. But other than that, didn't do much else wrong. And overall, it was a decent performance. 150 Serie A appearances up for the captain. That's a really special kind of moment for him. Would have been nicer to celebrate it with a win, but just nice to see him continuing to blossom into a captain and leader and a really good player at the back. So, but yeah, 5.5 on this occasion as he wasn't at his best. Theo Hernandez gets a 5. There's something about Theo that I'm not particularly happy with. I don't know whether it's a fitness problem, because he doesn't look 100% fit, whether he's carrying a knock. He obviously did pick up one during the game, but he's lacking that explosiveness down the left flank. And that's not just this game, that was for the last 3 games that he's featured in. You know what we get from him earlier in the season. He gets forward at every occasion. He explodes forward with those bursting runs. Not the same level of intensity or threat to his play at this point. Defensively a bit better, but he adds a really important dynamic to our attack, I think. And so hopefully the sooner the better in terms of him getting back to his best in an attacking sense as well. But first and foremost, I think the prognosis is good in terms of his knock that he picked up, and all the reports suggest that he will be fit to face Lazio this weekend. Frank Kessie and Ismail Benacer both get a 5.5. I think it was a backward step for both of them. Brian Dabo and Mirko Valdefiori caused them a lot of problems, whether it was just bothering them or hassling them or physically just kind of winning that battle. I don't think they gave us that solid foundation that I was talking about in the last podcast that kind of sets us up to win these games. So yeah, just disappointing performance from them both. They had that key battle to win, and I don't feel as though they did, but wasn't one of their better performances. I think they have done really well since the restart together. So again, a learning process for them as well, and hopefully they can pick up some things to improve themselves both individually and collectively to kind of get us back to that situation of being so dominant in midfield. Samu doesn't get a rating, obviously pulled up with a hamstring injury early on. Hopefully it's not too serious, but you have to doubt his availability for the Lazio game. Lucas Paqueta gets a 6.5. As I've already mentioned, needs to be more clinical in front of goal, but he was a constant threat, found those pockets of space in the final third and created really dangerous moments. Showed good signs of positive play on the ball, and I think that will really help with his confidence moving forward. And hopefully, like I said, he gets the opportunity to build on this and gets another shot at the weekend. Hakan Çalhanoğlu gets a 6 out of 10. I think he was sloppy at times, particularly in the first half, but then as the game goes on, he starts to show his influence and quality a bit more. Very versatile, pops up in different roles all over the place, which is really crucial to us. And that's something that Pioli obviously appreciates. Shifted him around in midfield and attack. Obviously, we all want to see more of a decisive final touch in the final third, but I think overall it was a decent outing and had that goal ruled out for offside as well. So plenty to be happy with Hakan, but also plenty of ammunition for his doubters and haters to use against him as well. Ante Rebic gets a 6. I think he snatched at a few chances, which we would have expected him to bury given his recent goal-scoring form. Disappointing to see him not add to his tally. I think he worked hard as he always does for the team and he continues to be a threat. But there were a couple of opportunities that you just think that in the form that he's in, he should have put in the back of the net and he didn't. So a bit disappointing from that point of view, but Rebic with a 6 out of 10 and not a terrible performance by any means. Moving on to the subs, I've given Salim Ackers a 7. Again, as I said, another impressive impact off the bench. Looks more effective and comfortable at right back to burst forward and cause problems. Cross obviously forced the error for the own goal. And I think he's doing well. He's obviously signed on a permanent basis now. Contract runs until 2024, so Milan have seen enough to kind of make that decision and be happy with it. He's showing enough positive signs in the last 2 games to suggest that might be a smart decision. So long may it continue, and as I said, hopefully he finds his preferred role. Rafael Leao gets a 6 out of 10. Good to see him make another decisive impact off the bench again. Another key goal, another crucial breakthrough for us. And yeah, just building his own confidence, building his character to prove a point, I guess. I'm still not convinced by him 100%, as I said, but it's great to see him show that character and that resolve to come on with the right attitude, score important goals, and whether it's staying in that substitute role, which is proven to be very successful, or coming in as a starter, The goals will only help, so pleased to see him score, and hopefully he can build on that as well. Laxalt gets a 6. I think he did well coming on to replace Deo, offered a bit of width and energy down the left flank. Never afraid to get on the ball and put a delivery in the box, albeit probably the wrong strategy towards the end where we're just lofting balls into the box, hoping for a knockdown of some sort, Ibrahimovic to get onto it. But yeah, Laxalt decent enough, I've given him a 6. And finally, I've actually given Ibrahimovic and Bonaventura both a 5. I think Ibrahimovic is still clearly lacking match fitness. Didn't offer a great deal other than being a target man in the box. Did put that big head chance, the header, over the bar, which he should have put away in my opinion. But give him the benefit of the doubt. Will no doubt improve with playing time as he's coming back from his recent injury setback. So I'm sure there'll be plenty more to see from him as he gets his fitness back. And Bonaventura, yeah, just not the desired impact you want from him coming on as the final sub. Regularly find himself blocked off from goal. Didn't show the kind of intelligence that we want to see from him to find that key pass to unlock the defence rather than trying an effort from distance. So yeah, I've given him a 5 out of 10. So moving on to your post-match thoughts. Brad at Spidey0816. This game is why we aren't satisfied in keeping Pioli. I'll give him credit for steadying us a little. But honestly, too many games we see look like this. Ridiculous stats. Against bottom of the table with 10 men we can't finish. Takes a free going goal. Just pathetic. As I said to Brad in my response on Twitter, I do understand his point on Pioli, and we have seen too many of these slip-ups under Pioli, which has been a real problem for him during his tenure. But what I will say, in my opinion, is that I think this one's on the players. We've set the team up the right way, and we've created chance after chance after chance, and we just haven't been able to put any of them away. Like I said, yes, Pioli does deserve some of it to an extent, but this one's on the players for me because the game was there to be won. They were in the position to do so. They were sloppy early on and they didn't take their chances, and you're always going to get punished when that happens. So yeah, unfortunately, I think everyone has a share of the blame, but for me, the players take on more than Pioli on this occasion. Leopard 1, I have to praise Hakan. Never liked him, but he's been playing great. We still keep shooting from outside the box, 25 attempts. One quick smart fake shot or a quick smart pass and we're definitely getting that extra goal. Hakan and Paqueta MVP today. And he also mentioned, remember the pass from Higuain to Catrone? That's what I mean. Simple, but you have to see and execute it in the heat of the moment. As I said in my reply as well, that 100% agree with that assessment as well, because there were a couple of occasions where you could see players lining up and they were waiting for that beautiful, creative, slick pass to be played in to kind of deceive the defence rather than going for the shot all the time. That pass was on multiple occasions, and despite having so many creative players on the pitch, whether it was Çalhanoğlu, Paqueta, Bonaventura, Ibrahimovic, we never ever, not one of them, picked out that pass. And that's something that I hope and they'll go back and watch and they'll use that as a potential solution to our problems moving forward. But again, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. And finally, Marvin Diaz, 619. Couple takeaways from today. Don't see why people are so excited about Salim Ackers. Seems like an average player. Would love to see Leao take over Hakan's spot on the wing and Rebic up top. Paqueta had a good game. Want to see him stay in the starting lineup. Ibra has been subpar. Okay, so a few things to break down here, Marvin. I hear what you're saying about Salim Ackers, and more so what I was talking about in terms of his role in a more of an attacking sense. I don't think he's ready to take on that attacking right winger position. Whether it's a lack of experience, youth, just inconsistency and a lack of confidence, all things combined, I don't think he's ready for that specific role. But I do feel as though there's something definitely there to work with in terms of a right back. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. Leao coming in for Hakan is an option. I think we would miss Hakan's sort of inventness, the switching of play and other bits in terms of his hard work as well off the ball. But I think there's a lot to Hakan's game that he brings, and that's why Pioli loves him so much. Rebic up top works for me still, and I showed in that last pod why in terms of the clips off the ball with the four-man press, high press up the pitch. I'm not ready to quit on that just yet, but we'll have to wait and see what happens this weekend and whether or not Ibrahimovic plays a more prominent role. And 100% agree with you on both Paqueta and Ibra. Paqueta, for me, definitely deserves to stay in the starting lineup, but again, we'll have to wait and see if that happens. And Ibra has missed a lot of decent opportunities since he came back. Now, his experience, his aura, all that, definitely big highlights, but there have been a couple of occasions where he has been pretty disappointing, so I see what your point is there. Hopefully he can be a bit more decisive moving forward. But right, guys, that's a wrap for this pod. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for all your comments. Like, subscribe, share the video if you're enjoying the pod. At Milan Talk 1 on Facebook and Twitter for more news, for more reaction, for more opinion. MilanTalk.com, of course, for plenty more reaction from the game and previews ahead of the Lazio game. But until Saturday, Forza Milan.